Hi, plenty of people have done videos about making butter, but of course we would like to do our own just for purposes of explanation. Butter's pretty simple. All it is the fat out of milk congealed together, packaged for us to put on toast or as we choose fit. It's not too difficult to make. You'll need a blender, a jar. For the purposes of our conversation, I'm going to call this the agitator. Basically, the butter has to be broken away from the milk and separated, and you can do it very fast with a small juicer type food processor, or you can do it very slow with a bowl type mixer. We have found the slower the mixing, the better the quality of butter you wind up with. Your milk is of course the number one subject. You can separate milk, which is not very difficult. Get your cream out of milk. You do this by simply placing your milk at room temperature overnight, and it will separate. You can also acquire heavy cream. You take this heavy cream, and you pour it into the mixer. You let the mixer run depending on the speed of your mixer device. It's very clear to see when it separates, and we're going to show you some pictures of that shortly. And when you're done, you take the butter out to the side, which you'll see some pictures of shortly. Separate it, make sure you get everything but the butter out, which is pretty much buttermilk, and skim milk is what you wind up with it, but you get that out. Then you take and spoon that out and press it down into a mold. We find that the Tupperware brand disposable microwavable containers, they hold 2 cups. 2 cups of butter weighs 1 pound. So it's very easy to make a 1 pound package of butter that way. Once you have your butter put in your mold, you refrigerate it and let it drain. And afterwards, you package it to your taste for use at your table. This is the 2 pound pre-made bowl. Alright, I will show you some clips of what it looks like during the different stages. Hope you enjoy. Okay, what you see here is after it bubbles up a little, you wind up with a whipped cream, for lack of a better word, because well, that's what it is. You eat it, it tastes like whipped cream, and if you want to put it on something, well, you'll have homemade whipped cream. We're going to watch it for just a minute and give you some more video here in a second when it starts to separate. You'll know it's about to separate for just a brief second before it actually does it. Right in my mixer, of course, depending on what you use, it may be different. It'll start to empty out there, and you'll start to see liquid, which will be your buttermilk, and then all of a sudden, it'll be buttermilk and butter separate forever. All right, more video soon. Just instantly from the heavy whipped cream, your next step is your milk separates, and you wind up with buttermilk and butter. The reason I like using this particular device is because, as you can see, my butter gets lifted into the mixer rod and lifted out of the buttermilk, and that helps spin the buttermilk out of the butter, which is very important. You want only butter in your butter and nothing else. The next part is pretty simple. Trial and error will teach you to use an earthenware container, and I freeze it the day before, so it is, not that you can feel it, it's very cold. What I do next is I double strain my buttermilk off. Of course, use a clean bowl, clean utensils. I take a bowl to capture my buttermilk in, place it in the sink. I place a large grade strainer in the buttermilk bowl and a small in the other. Then take your buttermilk, Make sure you get all your butter out. Then you'll notice in my particular instance, the majority of my butter is already draining. Then you just have to separate the butter from the mixer. In video. Your mixtures are clean. You just do that with a cold spoon. You can set your butter aside, and you wind up with your buttermilk. Set that to the side. Use pancakes. Make pancakes, ranch dressing, whatever flips your trigger. Next thing you have to do is work your butter. You want to do that with a very cold water. Cold, 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 cold. You can do this by hand. Basically what you're doing is rinsing the butter to make sure there's only butter, not buttermilk or skim milk, which will cause your milk to spoil. You'll do this until the butter is clean. And you'll know it's clean simply because there'll be no milk residue. Using my method, it's fairly clean to start with because it's picked up by the blades and spun free, worked and reworked. Depending on your method, this part may be longer or shorter than that. Cold dish helps quite a bit here. Now if we'll get the camera closer for you, and you'll see that my water that has ran off, it's just clear water. That lets me know that my butter is clean and clear. We'll stop wasting water over here. This is the 2-cup container I was telling you about earlier. Take the 2-cup container, take your brick o' butter. Try to free off any of that water that you can just by working the butter. At this point is also when you salt the butter. You'll work your salt in. As you can see here, what I prefer to use is a ground sea salt with the grinder on it. Taking the limited, have about a half a teaspoon of salt here. Pour that salt into the butter. Then you just work it in. You can also do rosemary, garlic, strawberries. The world is really your oyster there. Whatever flavors you like to have in butter, that's what you work in. Once you have about as dry as you can, don't work it too long because warmth is your enemy here. Plop it in your 2-cup container. Treat it much like a ball of dough. Press it down. Get any loose butter that you would like to not lose. These are some more of my cooled utensils. And you mash that down. As a last thing I do, I always take and invert my butter over the sink just to free up any moisture I may be able to mash out. You also want to make sure it's fully in your mold, which is actually what our 2-quart container is. And once you have it to your satisfaction, the easy part's over. You place it into set. You can use it immediately like this. I like to freeze it. Hardest part about making butter is cleaning up all the buttery dishes. Alrighty, if you have any questions about butter, feel free to give us a call. You can use whole milk, raw milk, if it's not for human consumption in North Carolina. heavy cream, light cream. Heavy cream, of course, you can separate from your raw milk by just setting it out. Mother Nature will do the job for you. Heavy cream you can buy at the grocery store. Good luck and enjoy your butter.